Michelangelo Merisi da Caravaggio, born in 1571 near Milan, became one of history's most revolutionary painters. Caravaggio died in 1610 at just 38, a life as raw, violent and brilliant as the masterpieces he left behind. A man who pulled saints from heaven to the streets, his light slicing through darkness, living between divine art and mortal chaos. Caravaggio did not live politely. He did not temper his impulses, and he did not bend for the comfort of society. He embodied extremes in talent, temperament, morality and survival. Every anecdote, every brushstroke, every conflict tells the story of a life lived on the knife's edge. Orphaned as a teenager, Caravaggio moved from apprenticeship to apprenticeship, learning the craft of painting while absorbing the streets of Milan and Bergamo, places where the human body, suffering and vitality were on constant display. This immersion in the real, the grit, the grime, the corporeal immediacy of life would define his artistic vision. While others idealized, Caravaggio revealed saints with calloused hands, martyrs who bled, apostles with faces from Rome's streets. He painted not for flattery, but for confrontation. Rome in the 1590s welcomed Caravaggio as both a talent and a menace. He quickly earned commissions for churches, private patrons and influential collectors. Works like The Fortune Teller and The Card Sharps demonstrated his uncanny ability to capture the exact moment of tension, deception, or revelation. Every hand, glance and shadow mattered. He mastered naturalism to an extreme that both shocked and captivated. Yet his genius was inseparable from his defiance of decorum. He drank heavily, carried knives, and engaged in street brawls. His reputation for violence grew alongside his fame, making him as notorious as he was celebrated. Violence was central to Caravaggio's story. In 1606, a quarrel with Ranuccio Tomassoni ended in fatality. Accounts vary. Some describe a duel, others a street fight. Contemporary rumors suggest the dispute may have involved gambling, a woman, or even a tennis match. Whatever the cause, Tomassoni died from wounds inflicted by Caravaggio, forcing him to flee Rome as a fugitive. A bounty on his head turned the city he had dominated into a place of peril. Exile became a central chapter of his life, shaping both his personality and his art. The crime did not erase his genius. Exile pushed him into new contexts and new patrons, Naples, Malta, Sicily, and his output after 1606 shows both creative evolution and personal erosion. Even on the run he painted with ferocity, but his later works carry a darker tone, introspective, psychologically complex. He tried to secure clemency through letters and appeals to powerful patrons, yet the shadow of past violence never fully lifted. Caravaggio's art was defined by extremes as much as his life. He perfected chiaroscuro, the dramatic interplay of light and darkness, creating scenes that erupt from shadow. Every figure is rendered with obsessive attention to anatomical detail. He used real models, street urchins, beggars, prostitutes, placing them in sacred contexts to confront holiness and sin on equal footing. The calling of St. Matthew, Judith beheading Holofernes, and the conversion of St. Paul shock with immediacy, realism, and psychological intensity. Light is not decorative, it interrogates. Flesh is not idealized, it lives. Every painting carries the echo of the streets, the bruises of reality, the urgency of survival. His relationship with patrons mirrored his life, volatile, demanding, fearless. Caravaggio was blunt, sarcastic, and contemptuous of authority. Letters and contemporary accounts describe him insulting noble patrons, refusing commissions, and walking away when constraints threatened his vision. Even when he painted for the church, he refused to sanitize reality. Angels bore the dirt of the common man. Martyrs bled realistically. Christ appeared vulnerable, human, immediate. This insistence on truth, unvarnished and raw, brought both acclaim and censure. Exile did not dull his output. In Naples, he painted with heightened intensity, producing works darker, more introspective, more psychologically complex. Patrons there, powerful and wealthy, overlooked his infamy for unrivaled brilliance. Malta brought knighthood and conflict, He fought, was jailed, escaped, and roamed southern Italy as both artist and outlaw. Even on the run, his skill deepened, and obsession with the human form intensified. Caravaggio's obsession extended beyond observation. He studied anatomy to understand movement and tension, though not formally. He dissected corpses secretly to observe musculature, posture, and mechanics of death. This morbid curiosity translated into paintings where bodies breathe, twist, and strain under spiritual and mortal weight. Saints appear weighty and solid, victims collapse convincingly, angels hover with believable poise. He brought a tangible truth to the canvas, challenging Renaissance and Baroque idealization. His personal habits matched his extremes. He lived in squalor, slept in cheap lodgings, and surrounded himself only with what was necessary to paint. He drank heavily, fought frequently, carried knives for protection. He oscillated between calm and explosive violence. Friends noted his charm and generosity, but those who knew him well understood his temper could be lethal, loyalty conditional, and obsessions uncompromising. Even his portraits of religious figures convey contradiction. Mary Magdalene is vulnerable and provocative. Saints are heroic yet human. Martyrs suffer with visceral realism. Each composition is infused with tension, capturing the sacred and the profane. Caravaggio understood man's duality, divine and animal, noble and corrupt, and rendered it unflinchingly. This confrontation with paradox makes his work timeless and unsettling. Letters, anecdotes, and documents illustrate his relentless drive. Even after fleeing Rome, Caravaggio sought reconciliation with the papacy, hoping for pardon to return and continue his work. Persistence shows a man who, despite exile, legal jeopardy, and danger, could not stop creating. Painting was compulsion. Each commission, whether for a chapel, a nobleman, or a private collector, received obsessive attention to realism, light, and anatomy. His final years were marked by weariness, ill health, and legal peril. Returning to Naples, he planned to return to Rome under promised pardon, but never reached safety. In 1610, at almost 40, he died under mysterious circumstances. Some say illness, others violence. His brief, intense life mirroring his art. 4 decades of brilliance and chaos ended with a man still engaged in creation, still dangerous, still unbowed. Caravaggio's legacy reshaped European art. His realism, tenebrism, and psychological depth defined Baroque painting across Europe. Bernini, Velázquez, Ribera, Gentileschi all absorbed aspects of his approach through imitation or reaction. He proved light could be weaponized, holy figures could bleed like mortals, and the observer could be implicated. Every painting a confrontation, a truth impossible to ignore. His personal story remains inseparable from his art. Every brawl, every flight from justice, every deprivation or exile echoes in his compositions. In The Taking of Christ, betrayal reigns. In David with the head of Goliath, triumph meets guilt. In Supper at Emmaus, revelation explodes with motion and intensity. Life and work were inseparable, brutal, beautiful, extreme. Caravaggio's genius reminds us brilliance is never polite, orderly, or safe. It demands risk, confrontation, refusal to compromise. He painted sinners as saints, saints as flesh and blood humans. He fought, fled, drank, dissected, and obsessively rendered every detail. Every contradiction, violence, and triumph shaped him. A man consumed by art, living on the edge where beauty and brutality meet. To view Caravaggio's paintings is to witness life without filter. Hunger, desire, fear, revelation, violence, all captured with unprecedented clarity. He forces viewers to confront the human condition, noble and ignoble, divine and mortal, beautiful and grotesque. In that confrontation we understand both the world he painted and the world he lived, merciless, intense, unflinchingly real. Even centuries later, his life serves as caution and inspiration. Caravaggio shows creation demands immersion, obsession, and sometimes danger. He shows genius's cost, conflict, danger, suffering, and its reward, lasting influence and a legacy that redefined art. He did not merely represent reality, he forced reality into art, making it impossible to ignore. Michelangelo Merisi da Caravaggio lived fast, painted ferociously, died young. He left a legacy blurring sanctity and sin, light and darkness, life and death. His story is not sanitized. It is brilliant, violent, beautiful, tragic, a reflection of the man. Every brushstroke carries weight of experience. Every shadow conceals history. Every light illuminates intensity. He reminds us that to create fully, confront life and mortality, requires total immersion, disregard for convention, and courage untempered by fear. In the end, Caravaggio's life is a testament to extremity, a man capable of sublime beauty and terrible violence, of revolutionary artistry and relentless defiance, of vulnerability and brutality all at once. He painted not for safety, social approval, or ease. He painted because he had no choice. And in that uncompromising pursuit, he produced works enduring far beyond the limits of any single human life. Caravaggio remains, centuries later, a figure whose life and art demand attention, understanding, and awe. History has more fascinating figures waiting in the shadows. Like, share, and subscribe to explore their worlds, epic stories of power, ambition, and fate. Thank you for watching.